Welcome back. Spoiler movie review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinenberg. Today, we're breaking down the Marvels. I usually do this with all the MCU films. Break down my thoughts on the movie, the ending, and the end credit scenes. We're going to break everything down and give my thoughts on those scenes and add to what I talked about in my non-spoiler review. So welcome back to Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Ring the bell if you're new to the channel. I talk movies, TV, movie rankings, and every week I do a box office breakdown show. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new, comment down below. What are your spoiler thoughts of the Marvels? Please, let's keep this civil. I do love having these fun conversations with you guys. I do respond to every comment, so comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the movie. Did you like the direction that Marvel is taking with these characters? Love to let you know in the comment section down below. And also, please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel and myself. If you guys hit that like button, it helps the YouTube algorithm out so more people can like this video. I do want to say I've been seeing some dislikes as of late for the channel. I do want to say, even if you disagree with my point, disliking is not how you go about that. It does affect me and how my channel is trying to grow. So please hit that like button, not the dislike button, down below. So I'm getting my spoiler thoughts. I'm not gonna break down scene for scene like I do from past Marvel movies. I just get my general thoughts on the big movies. I have done a full non-spoiler review where I go through like my critic hat on and breaking down the non-specific plot point problems I have with the movie and my score and stuff like that. And I still feel the same way about the movie that as I did after seeing it a couple days ago. I think that this movie can be enjoyable at times. I think Miss Marvel, played by Iman Vellani, is clearly the best part of this movie and keeps this movie entertaining when it probably isn't as much fun as it should be. And I do like the chemistry between the three lead actresses. But this, from a story level, is a full-on disaster, in my opinion, from a story level and from an editing level. I think it's just a total misfire from both those perspectives. Now, again, as I'm going to go into my spoiler thoughts, I'm going to say what I said as well in my non-spoiler review. There is a lot of just negativity around this movie. Both, if you love the movie, then you get crapped on from people, and then even if you hate the movie, you get crapped on from the other side of people. There's like two completely different groups, and you really can't be in the middle. And I do want to say that I'm not coming this from any perspective. This is my film opinion. I'm usually in the middle on a lot of these types of divisive movies. I'm more negative on this one than usual. But this is just my opinion. We all have opinions. Movies are subjective. So I do want to say that as we head into this breakdown. So my biggest problem right off the bat of the movie, which gave me a sign of the negativity that I felt with this movie as I was watching it, is the rushed first act of this film. We kind of open with this interesting, I guess, enough scene with our villain Dar-Benn, but then we move into the three characters or three leads switching places, and cuts are weird. The movie is moving at a breakneck pace. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, this movie desperately felt like it was racing towards the credits. And I don't really say that much or really ever about a film, but I felt that way watching The Marvels. And another reason why is that, for example, just an edit, this from an editing perspective, I just did not like, which is the three characters are moving back and forth. And I am okay with that. It's a fun enough scene. It's not really anything special. But there's a scene where literally when Miss Marvel switches with Monica, Miss Marvel is back with her family and everything's cleared up. And then literally like 2 seconds later, Monica and Nick Fury are just at the Khan family home. And they came from space. So this makes no sense. Because of the edit, it makes it feel like that Nick Fury and Monica got there in like a flash from space to the family. And just that little thing just pulls me out of the movie. The realism of the movie just completely just pulls me out. Right there. Now, I do really enjoy, I think there were a couple parts of the movie that they could have gone much deeper on that I wish they could have. I think the Carol Danvers versus Dar-Benn dynamic of the movie felt like the right direction to go for a Captain Marvel 2, because again, while we thought it was a clear positive that Carol destroyed the supreme intelligence and of the Kree world of Hala, the capital world, this movie does a really good job from a world building perspective, showing that there are some really negative ramifications for what Carol did. in the ending of Captain Marvel, which again was 30 years before this movie took place. Um, so you could have had for 30 years these people who were struggling, the Annihilator storyline and Dar-Benn. That could have been a really interesting character-focused Captain Marvel 2, because this movie wants to cram in Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau and Nick Fury and things like this. The movie just does not feel as cohesive. I feel like they had like 3 or 4 story ideas and they all kind of became one. I think there was the better route for this film was if it was just a well-focused, straightforward Captain Marvel 2. Again, Captain Marvel was $1 billion movie. Again, I'll get into my business perspective of this movie in my box office breakdown show coming out later today. But that is something that I think the movie was desperately missing. So from a story perspective, it would have benefited much more by being Captain Marvel 2 against Dar-Benn. Dar-Benn doesn't really fit from a story level with either Miss Marvel or Monica. There also was some really good debating going on between the 3 of them and some questioning of each other. But because of the quickness of the movie and the edits, they are just so quickly resolved. Especially there's like a moment in the movie which I really liked, when the Skrull world that they're on is getting absolutely destroyed by Dar-Benn, and the 3 of them, the Marvels, are rescuing some of the Skrulls. They can't really rescue all of them. There's a part where Kamala goes, "You got to keep saving them. There's still people running." And Carol basically yells at her, says, "Stop what you're talking about. Get on the ship. We're saving the people that we can. Let's go." And she like yells at her. And this is someone who for Kamala was her idol, yelling at her very quickly after they first met. And Kamala just looks destroyed mentally. And, Carol says sorry. And then we get into this joke scene of them trying to figure out how to time. I think if they let the movie sit, just like there, a little bit of, a lot of movies and shows, and even in real life, sometimes when you meet your idol, it doesn't go as well as you plan. And I think this movie had a good time with that, a good element of that from a story perspective, but it gets so quickly resolved that it doesn't even get brought up again for the remainder of the movie. And there's no conflict. They try to have conflict with Monica and Carol, but again, those things are very quickly resolved in the opening act of the movie. And because of its quick runtime, there just is not enough time for the movie to breathe on a story level to build conflict between the team. They're just put together and they work well together, and that's kind of that. We get the cameo as well from Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, which is obviously a hint to the romance from Valkyrie and Captain Marvel in the comics. We also have Valkyrie, kissing Carol's, cheek, and clearly a nod to them having a romance in the comics. It was cool to see Tessa Thompson again. I always think no one's cooler than Tessa Thompson. She's great, but it's kind of just a throwaway cameo. It seems like they're having, her being the new ruler of Asgard. She will be taking Skrulls now to New Asgard, which I also find really interesting. A massive problem for this movie as well for me is Nick Fury. He just seems totally as useless as he's ever been in the MCU. And I think there's a mixture of the movie itself feeling like he's useless, and also just there's just now such a negative thing with that character now post Secret Invasion. And this movie doesn't even hint at any references from that show. I mean, we literally have Skrulls back in the fray. And Fury, there's no mention of what's going on. And that's a big problem for the MCU going on. They have so many shows, so many setups and teases, and they just sometimes feel like the movies themselves that go past these shows and movies forget about them. Literally, Nick Fury had a show that just wrapped a couple of months ago. Obviously, before Loki, it was the most recent MCU project. And you have that character, that lead character now appearing in the next movie, and it doesn't feel like he's learned anything. There's no references. It doesn't feel like a rightful continuation from that character from the show. And I think it's a massive problem for the MCU moving forward. And obviously, from a business perspective, this was not great because 2 of your 3 main characters are from a TV show. And no offense, and again, Miss Marvel is my favorite part of the show and one of my favorite new characters of the MCU. But this movie became the lowest grossing box office opening weekend of the history of the MCU. And Miss Marvel was also the least watched MCU show. And that's who one of your lead characters is. That's where kind of Marvel is at this point. So we get towards the ending of the movie. with Dar-Ben and Monica, with the three of them, and they figure out how to stop Dar-Ben. At the end of the day, we get this. And also, before we get to the ending, I did not like the singing planet scene. I think there could have been some interesting ways, but it was too much for me. And while I do like musicals, I'm not like this overly someone who like really likes them. That part of the movie didn't like. I felt it was so unnecessary because we went to this planet for the water, but that didn't even become a factor. I felt like we went to this planet just to have a good time than to actually fit into the actual story and the flow of the movie. I felt like it was a 5-minute distraction than actually fitting into the movie that we're watching. And you could also feel that a lot of these scenes were cut because they got like a famous actor to play that prince, and he was like barely in the movie, which I heard a lot of people have not been happy about. So let's move towards the ending of the movie. As I said, they figure out how to stop Dar-Ben, and then you can see kind of the dimensions, the multiverses are now breaking again in the MCU, and Monica gets basically photoned on by Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. Now we do also learn in this movie that while Monica was blipped, when Maria was basically dying, Carol did go see Maria and tell her that she wants to be there for Monica when she comes out of this blip, whatever happens. So that's a very interesting story point in the movie that again they don't really touch on that much. So Monica basically sacrificed herself and stays in the other universe with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel staying behind. They're now moving into, or at least Carol is, or at least the Khan family are moving into the Rambeau home in Louisiana to end the movie. Then we got this kind of really two post-credit scenes. One's like officially the ending of the movie, then there's one mid-credit scene. The ending of the movie is basically a reenactment in a comedy way of the original post-credit scene in the first Iron Man in 2008 with Nick Fury recruiting Iron Man. We get Kamala saying sometimes word for word what Nick Fury said to Iron Man, but this time she's saying it to Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld. Steinfeld and Kate Bishop's first appearance in the MCU since the Hawkeye show. And basically talk about that. She said, I've did some feelers for Cassie Lang, who we just saw played by Catherine Newton in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, talking about starting a team. So we finally have an official build now for the Young Avengers, and it looks like Kamala is leading the charge now to lead this Young Avengers team. I think there's a lot of options moving forward. Obviously, a lot of people thought that Spider-Man would be like the leader of the Young Avengers, but due to a lot of these MCU top premier characters dying, he could be the leader of the main Avengers, and also, Haley Steinfeld's character joked that she's 23 and kind of too old for this type of team. So I don't think Peter is going to be a good fit for this team. We have a lot of different options. We're going to be introduced to Wicket, who is obviously Wanda's son from WandaVision and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. He's played an adult version in the new Agatha show coming out soon in the next year or two. So we'll get that character added on, which I think will be mixed in the show. We already got Hulk's son introduced in She-Hulk Scar. So there are some options throughout the MCU. We got T'Challa Jr. at the end of Wakanda Forever. So there's a lot of options for this team moving forward, but it looks like Kamala is leading the charge. Always great also to see Haley Steinfeld in the movie. So we get this mid-credit scene with, of course, we knew it was going to happen, Monica in the other dimension. Now, I do want to say that this was clearly spoiled to me, not by leakers, by the trailer itself. The last trailer came out a couple weeks ago, which I was not watching, but I'm on movie social media, and a lot of people were talking about the teaser trailer, the final trailer, and it kind of, you can see Beast in the background of this facility. I was like, okay, but why are they spoiling this in the final trailer? So Monica meets her mom, who is now binary, not Captain Marvel, binary in this universe. So it's great to see Lashana Lynch, and obviously Lashana Lynch in this universe has not had her kid, or does not have a kid, so she's just binary with the X-Men. And we get Kelsey Grammer's version of Beast in the post-credit scene. He talked about Charles needing to see her, which we could probably assume that this is going to be Patrick Stewart's version, not from Multiverse of Madness, but the X-Men, Fox X-Men version of the character. So it seems like this movie shows the opening to the Fox X-Men universe, which will be really on full display in the lone MCU movie next year in Deadpool 3. Grammer appeared in a couple of the X-Men films, starting with X-Men: The Last Stand back in 2006. And he also played that character once again in 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. So he's been in 2 movies. So clearly not going with Nicholas Hoult as Beast clearly means that we're moving forward with the old school OG X-Men cast that Kevin Feige first started producing for Marvel as an assistant and a manager to becoming one of the producers of the films later on, before he took over the MCU for Disney. So he's clearly going to go back to his tools. Obviously, Hugh Jackman is returning, and there are heavy rumors that the Fox X-Men are making their return both in Deadpool 3 and in Secret Wars, the next Avengers film, which doesn't even come out now until 2026. So I like the scene. I'm not a big, I think Kelsey Grammer's fine as Beast. I did prefer Nicholas Holt's version of Beast, but again, we are going OG X-Men. So we've already seen Patrick Stewart now return in the his version of Patrick Stewart as Professor X in the MCU. We're now getting, we just got Kelsey Grammer. So the question is, are that universe that Monica is in, is that the true X-Men universe that we saw with the kind of the happy ending that we got in the Days of Future Past timeline? Is that where we're at? I do think the movies need to explain what version of the characters they are. It should be very interesting to see what the next step is as Marvel's supposed to gain a lot of momentum, as it was reported in the next week or so. Marvel will make the announcement of the castings of the Fantastic Four. And obviously next year, as Deadpool 3 is the lone MCU film of the year, is going to be very X-Men driven with Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, obviously Deadpool in the movie, and a lot of characters returning. So it'll be very interesting as we're going to get the Fantastic Four casting soon. In the next year, the X-Men will be in the MCU. So it should be very interesting to see what the MCU does moving forward. But overall, that's my general thoughts. Again, I did not like this movie. I don't think it's an awful movie or the worst movie of the year or something like that. But I think it's slightly better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But this is definitely not a good movie. And I think there's some fun elements to the movie, but I still have my same thoughts. Also, stay tuned, guys. In the middle of the week, either Wednesday or Thursday, I will be dropping my full ranking of all of the MCU films from worst to best. I could split that into 2 videos. I'm still thinking about it, but because there are over 30 films of this franchise now. So I will be doing a ranking of that franchise. I just did all my breakdowns of Loki, so stay tuned for more videos to the channel. I'll see you.